so does the St. Raymond Annatis Foundation for Freedom, Family, and Faith. Hi, I'm Anne DeSantis, Executive Director. In 2015, the Mercedarian Friars came together because they wanted to start a foundation to help families in crisis. And that's exactly what we've been doing over these years. Whether it be something to do with divorce, separation, trauma, job loss, loss of a loved one, or other adversities, we've helped so many families get through those tough times through the spiritual works of mercy. We'd love to hear from you. Please do get in touch with us for our services. They are prayer, priestly consultation, podcasts and videos, and programs and events. We look forward to hearing from you. Just go to nonotus.org and get in touch with me. I look forward to hearing from you. God bless.
Fiat Ministry Network and Patchwork Heart Ministry present Journeys in Faith. Now, here's Anne DeSantis.
Good evening. Welcome to Journeys in Faith here on Fiat Ministry Network. It's great to be here because I have another amazing guest for all of you this week. I have Tony Kolenc. He is a Catholic author, husband, a father. So, Tony, welcome. Thank you so much for joining us on this program.
Thank you. It's so great to be with you today.
I believe you were on before. I believe you were a guest before, at least with our Sowing Hope podcast.
With Sowing Hope, yeah, with Bill.
Bill Snyder, that's right. And we have so much to talk about because you have good things that are happening with Book 4 in the Harwood Mystery Series. And the new one is called The Merchant's Curse, and it's going to be released. It's already been released, obviously, October 17th from Loyola Press.
Yes.
So that's an exciting thing for you, isn't it?
There it is. Yes, there's the fourth cover.
Beautiful cover.
It's a great job. Yeah, I know we'll get a chance to talk about these, but yeah, that's the fourth one right there.
Yeah, it's amazing. Now, I'd love to read your bio because your bio is really detailed and gives our audience a little bit of an idea of you and where you're coming from. Is that Tony is the author of the teen historical fiction series, The Harwood Mysteries, which has won 7 book awards. He's also the host of the Shepherd's Pie radio show and podcast, which focuses on issues that impact young people today. He's an author of fiction and nonfiction books and articles, and a columnist for Practical Homeschooling magazine. He retired as a lieutenant colonel from the U.S. Air Force Judge Advocates General Corps after 21 years of military service. He currently teaches law at the University of North Texas, Dallas. I guess that's incorrect, right?
You got an old one there. Yeah, I was going to say I've moved this year.
We'll say that's past tense. And he speaks at writing, legal, and homeschool events. He and his family live in Jacksonville, Florida, although I know things have changed a little bit. So tell us those updates.
Yeah. So, gosh, if I sent you that, I sent you an old bio. My apologies.
Oh, it's okay.
This summer of 2022, I moved to Ave Maria School of Law. I was working in Dallas at the University of North Texas, but now I'm down here in sunny Naples, and I actually started a veterans and service members law clinic here for Ave Maria. We work with veterans, low-income veterans, and active duty and reserve guard members with different issues, legal issues that come up. So I work with the students, helping them.
Oh, that's incredible. A lot has happened since the last time you were on our podcast. That's the way life is, right? It's constantly moving, changing. So good to hear. And you're using your gifts and talents to help others, but you're also continuing on this journey as an author. And I know it's something that you really love and enjoy to do. So this new book was released. Can you tell us about this series and also about this book?
Sure, absolutely. And in fact, I've got I've got the books in front of me here, and the Harwood Mysteries, as you mentioned. It's got 4 books in it. Shadow in the Dark was the first one, and the series takes place in 12th century England. It's really fiction for teens, age 10 and up. College students really enjoy the series. It's written at a lot of different levels, so adults can enjoy it as well as teens. But essentially, it's kind of historical fiction with a suspenseful, kind of a Harry Potterish vibe to it. Because in each book, there's sort of a suspenseful mystery, something that has the potential, at least, to be in the supernatural realm. Like in the first book, my main character, Zan, gets orphaned, and this is 12th century England, and he gets orphaned when bandits attack his manor, and he winds up at a Benedictine abbey with amnesia, and he doesn't have his family, and the monks are helping him try to find out what happened to him, and meanwhile bandits are attacking, and there's this kind of angel of death figure that's roaming around the abbey grounds at night. And so he has to solve several mysteries, and he meets his kind of partner in crime, Lucy, who is the main girl character in book 1. And so that book really kind of explores, his identity and the issue of like suffering, and why do bad things happen to good people. And it starts off the idea of vocation too. It's a coming of age series. What does God want for my life is kind of what the main characters are having to face as they, go on adventures and solve these kind of mysteries too.
That's beautiful. And you were so gracious as to send me your books, and I really enjoy them. And thank you so much for that gift, because you are a wonderful writer. Can I ask, where did the inspiration for these books or the ideas? Because to me, that's where really things happen, right? Just the inspiration that you had to even start this series. Would you be able to share a little bit about that?
Sure. I think all of us, not all of us, a lot of us have been closet writers most of our lives. And, as a lawyer, I wrote a lot of, and continue to write a lot of nonfiction, journal, legal stuff. But, we all have creative gifts, and, I've always tried to take my hand at writing fiction throughout my life, and mostly not very successfully. I've had many unfinished manuscripts. But when I started this series, and it's been about 15 plus years now that I've been working on this series, Shadow in the Dark, we were a homeschooling family. You mentioned that I still write a legal column for Practical Homeschooling magazine. And we were a homeschooling family. And of course, as homeschoolers, you always try to do everything in life and build it into how can we use this to, bring a new life lesson or educational lesson to the kids. And so, I was, my kids were still teenagers at that time. And I was thinking, wouldn't it be great to have a series that had some of the modern kind of spookiness of like a Harry Potter type series, but also was set in a historical setting, and also could bring in some good themes of family values, religious themes, this coming of age theme. And so I really just started talking to my kids, especially my son, and was like, oh, what kind of a series would that look like? And we started brainstorming. Well, we'd want to put it in the Middle Ages. And so then I started doing some research, like what would be the best time in the Middle Ages. And I've always liked England, for some reason, English history. And so, of course, I knew I was going to set it in England, also, and then they could speak English or whatever they were speaking at that time. Wasn't quite the English we know, Middle English. And yeah, so that was it. And then it was kind of like always wanting to do something, that would have that sort of suspenseful, mysterious, vibe to it that would really draw in young readers. And then when Loyola picked up the series in 2020, they really took it and did a lot of really good stuff, and I know your audience can see what I'm doing here, right? So in addition to great artwork on the covers, they also have great, artwork, as in the interior, to do like a map of what they're calling here Zan's world that shows you sort of what 12th century England looked like in Yorkshire, and this, part of, as they're heading, the Roman road and heading to Lincoln, one of the other big settings in the books. So Loyola just really has done a great job, doing extra curriculum guides with it and everything. So it really fits into the mold of what I wanted the series to do, which was to be a very entertaining, kind of a suspenseful mystery series, but set in a historical place so that, teens could actually be exposed to actual history and get a sense of what would it be like if you were living in the Middle Ages in England, at this time.
Not only is it entertaining, I like that it's, as you said, the historical piece, the educational piece. Have you yourself actually ever visited England? I just wondered, off the top of my head, that came to me.
I'm so glad it came to you because I was excited. In 2015, when I was teaching at a different law school, I actually went to France for the summer to teach for them in one of their programs. Got to see Lourdes, and for the first time I was in France, which was gorgeous. But I said, you know what? I'm writing this series in England about English history, and I've never been to the UK. So I said, I'm already here in Europe. Let me just take a few extra weeks. And I was by myself. My family was in the United States here. And I was like, well, I'm going to take 2 weeks and I'm just going to do sort of what I would have done in college. I'm going to just start traveling around. I got a rail pass for the UK. And I just went and visited all the different places that I write about in the books and then some, and spent some time, took lots of pictures, stayed in hostels and the stuff that a young person would have done, and just really enjoyed it. Traveled around England, Scotland. I went to Ireland. My son flew out to Ireland and we spent some time in Ireland, and then took a train back into ferry to Wales and then back to London, and just had a real blast and just got the full UK experience. So I felt a lot better about where I was writing now. And I still go back and look at some of the photos I took, because some of the places that I write about, some of the buildings like Lincoln Castle, although it's changed over the years, is still standing. Lincoln Cathedral, which is the main, setting for book 2, the Haunted Cathedral, is a version of that cathedral is still standing. So I got some good photos there too.
It's interesting to see how God worked inside your brain and in your heart, and actually in action, right? The action that you took to make this a reality. So it's very exciting. We're going to talk about that 4th book when we come back from our break. So we have a lot more to talk about. We do have to take a break. So we'll be back here in just a few minutes here on Journeys in Faith. Welcome back to Journeys in Faith here on this Friday evening with Tony Kolenc, as we discuss his new book from the series. And you talked a lot about your trip to England and your research, all that you've done to make this become a reality. So tell us about this book that came out on October 17th with Loyola Press.
All right, I will do that. I'm going to jump right from 1 to 4 on this one. It's called The Merchant's Curse. And again, you could see the cover here. And so my main character in this book is in the town of Lincoln, which was introduced in book 2, The Haunted Cathedral, as I mentioned. You could see Zan and Lucy in book 2. That's the main girl character. But in book 2, we also meet Christina. Christina is the other main girl character. She is this kind of, redheaded firebrand, real saucy, who really puts Zan in his place a lot. and she is our main character in book 4 with Zan. And what happens in book 4 is Zan is now living with his uncle in Lincoln. It's the first book that doesn't have any setting at the Abbey, and it turns out that his uncle's business partner appears to be cursed by this kind of witchy woman that they meet in the square there, and he starts dying. And Zan is essentially tasked to figure out this mystery. Is this a real curse? He's skeptical that this is a real thing. But all sorts of stuff winds up happening. And in the background of this, there's also this whole historical issue going on, because King Henry II is at the very end of this is taking place in like 1186. So it's the last few years of King Henry II's reign, and his sons have been rebellious. And there's a whole subplot about one of the sons who has gone to France and is plotting against the king. And Zan gets sort of pulled into this potential, being viewed as a traitor by the king's men. And so him and Christina are sort of running from the sheriff's men at the same time as they're trying to figure out this mystery with the witch. And the theme in book 4 is actually vanity of vanities. It's sort of, in some ways, book 4 is a case study of the book of Ecclesiastes in the Old Testament, which, King Solomon, or whoever wrote Ecclesiastes as King Solomon, tells us that, all these things in life that we chase, whether it's, success, worldly success and fortune, or powerful friends, or our worldly beauty, or even wisdom, if we chase these things, it's like chasing after wind. And Zan and Christine and the other main characters sort of, encounter this theme as they, have their own vanities that they're sort of chasing after. Zan is chasing after wisdom. And he has to sort of learn that even that in and of itself, cannot be your end goal in life, that you need to be living for the life to come, is sort of some of the wisdom literature that permeates the plot as it goes on.
That's beautiful. And I think it's great that your target audience is the younger set, because let's face it, that particular area of vanity is such a temptation. It's a temptation for all of us, really, isn't it? But I think especially at that age, because of things like social media, because of a lot of the comparison game that goes on during the ages of, like, as you said, a target audience of over the age of 10 and then even into young adulthood, and how when we go to school and there's so much comparison there, and the vanity that you see when you look at Instagram or some of the other social media sites. So it really helps them to analyze, where are their hearts? Where is my heart when it comes to this vice? And I'm sure that in the book you offer solutions to that, right? Through faith and through virtue, right? So,
yeah, and ultimately, one of the main characters, Father Philip, one of the priests who are in Lincoln, ultimately, I think he sums it up when he says to Zan, because Zan's struggling with, we're all going to die. Even the wise man dies like the fool, and all the stuff that King Solomon talked about. And Father Philip says, it's not about how you're going to die or that you're going to die. It's how you live. That's what matters. And, we mentioned Christina. Christina and Lucy are my two female characters throughout the series. Lucy actually is present in books 1, 2, and 3, which, by the way, I should at least show you book 3, The Fire of Eden, which takes place before book 4. And this kind of wizardy looking guy is sort of one of the suspects in a jewel heist that Zan has to solve. Who stole the jewel? And Lucy's in that one. Christina's not. But in book 4, Christina is the only female character. And Christina, like I said, she's kind of more of a worldly girl. She's a good heart, like she's a good person, but she's beautiful, and her parents want her to marry a rich man, and so she's focused on that, and so that's the vanity that she's struggling with in this book. But but you see kind of like, well, but you're such a beautiful person without worrying about how you look too. Zan sees that. And she actually, I won't spoil it, but she does have to face sort of a real conflict about that vanity issue in this book. And that actually takes us into book 5, which is going to come out next year, that Loyola is currently editing.
Oh, that's good. Now, can you tell us the title of that one, or is it still kind of under wraps?
It's not official, but it is a murder mystery, and it brings Zan and Christina back to Harwood Abbey and some of the manors that surround Harwood Abbey. And so Zan basically it's gonna be a whodunit. Each book has its own little, book 2 is sort of a solving, is this cathedral haunted? And so it's like a ghost mystery. Book 3 is like a jewel thief mystery. Book 4 is this witch thing. And then book 5 is really a whodunit murder mystery.
Wow. And is it fair for me to ask, are you going to continue to do, say, maybe 10 books in a series? Is that your goal? I mean,
well, I think Loyola is definitely signed on for a 6th book. Now I always viewed this as a 9-book series, because the last 3 books, I've been working my way. I said it in a really interesting time in history. And at the end of book 5, which takes place in 1187, Saladin, the Islamic Sultan in the Holy Land, takes Jerusalem back from the Christians. And so the fall of Jerusalem is actually the event which sparks the Third Crusade, where you've heard of King Richard the Lionheart, who goes on crusade. We've seen him portrayed by Sean Connery in some of those, Robin Hood movies or whatever. So books 7, 8, and 9, I wanted to take place during the Third Crusade and actually move Zan into the Holy Land, and experience that. So that last trilogy is sort of like a Crusades trilogy. I hope Loyola will sign on for it, but I don't know. 6 books, at least I think we're going to get 6 in this current series, though.
that's really exciting. And what a legacy, even for you and your family, that this book is enriching all of you, but so many other people, and that it will live on. So I think it's just great that you're investing this time in your writing for something that really matters, really does. Now, have you been to the Holy Land? I have to ask that question too.
That I have not done.
Okay.
I didn't even go to the Holy Land experience in Orlando. So no, I haven't. I've been to a bunch of places, but never there. Have you?
No.
No.
Oh,
Okay.
there's a story behind that. Maybe we need a whole other show, but I was supposed to go before the pandemic, and was going to do a pilgrimage through the foundation that I represent, the St. Raymond and Nonna's Foundation. But unfortunately, with all of those regulations and everything, unfortunately, we weren't able to do it. But here we are, 2022, going into 2023. You never know what's going to happen in the coming year or two, that maybe we'll do it again. So just gave me a little commercial there.
Maybe you've given me a reason. If I'm going to write a Crusades trilogy, maybe now I have to go to the Holy Land in order to do some research.
Yeah, it would be a great trip for you and your family too. Obviously, I know some priests that have done that quite a bit in my area, and it's kind of an ongoing thing that they're going back to the Holy Land and bringing people with them and educating and praying, and it's just a beautiful thing. So, well, is there anything else about your writing or about this particular book that you'd love the audience to know about, your new book, book 4?
Sure. I guess one of the points that I'd want to make is because my main character is a teenage boy. He starts at age 11 and works up, by the time we get to books 7, 8, and 9, he's going to be, 16, 17 years old. But it's not a series that's just for boys. I really tried hard, and Loyola's tried hard to make sure we have some really strong female characters who are sort of balancing the series. So it's a series that girls also really enjoy, and it's not limited to boys. In fact, what I did was I'm writing a series of short stories where Lucy is really the main character. Anne's not even in them, and that the stories take place in between these novels. And a few of the short stories are part of anthologies that I do with Catholic Teen Books, which, by the way, if your audience is not familiar with CatholicTeenBooks.com, definitely check it out. There's like 16 of us authors writing for this age range, all different types of books, dystopian future and past historical fiction and saints and contemporary school, whatever. So there's a lot of really great books on CatholicTeenBooks.com, but we put together a few anthologies. And so I have two of my Lucy short stories appear in their anthologies, one called Treasures, that came out last year, and one called Ashes that is coming out in Lent 2023. And then I wrote an independent Lucy short story. So I'm going to have like 4 or 5 of these Lucy short stories. And I'm actually giving away one of them on my website for free. So if anybody goes to AnthonyKolenc.com, you can download a free copy of that Lucy short story. So in other words, my point is book 4 is not just for boys. Christina plays a big role in it, and the series is for children of all ages, right?
Yeah, that's wonderful. And it's just in time for what? The holiday season. And so
Yes.
I want to just make that shout out as this program is being aired in early December, that this is a great gift. Not only just this one book, but the whole series of the 4 of them so far. Now, do they come as a package set if they were to go on the website, or is it just one book at a time?
Yeah, you can buy them together from Loyola or on Amazon or any of those places. They haven't made a book set yet, probably because it's not a complete series
Yeah,
yet.
it's not yet.
But you can obviously purchase them together, and I would encourage it. You're right; it's a great gift, especially if you've got any grandparents or aunts and uncles, and they're buying for kids to age 10 and up, and you're always wondering, what am I going to buy the kid? Another video game? This is the kind of series that is specifically designed so that the kids will enjoy it, and also it's something that you can feel good about giving as a gift. So that's kind of why I wrote it, and it is the time of the season to do that. So thanks for bringing that up, Anne.
Oh, absolutely. Yeah. I mean, it's perfect timing, because what better gift to give your child, your niece, your nephew, whoever, friends, is good writing, and especially something that's virtuous, educational, and the history aspect of it is so wonderful. For
you mentioned
for homeschoolers, I think it's great too, I have to say. I think it's
yes,
great.
I wrote it with homeschoolers in mind, really, because we were homeschooling at the time. And as you mentioned, the writing, Loyola has done such a great job with the editing. The series actually at this point has 8 book awards. On the first 3 books, all have gold medals from both secular and Catholic competitions. Book 4 hasn't gone up for anything yet, but I'm hopeful. So it is strong writing, so you feel like you're getting a quality product too, which I definitely had off to Loyola for investing in the series the way they did.
Well, that's due to yourself and how God has worked through you to bring this book to all of us. So I just want to personally thank you for your hard work, continued hard work, for all that you do. Tell us, where would be the best places to purchase the book? I know it's the Loyola site, correct? And Amazon. Is there any one better place, or just either way?
I mean, you could shop around and probably find it discounted, in some places, but I mean, I always, and you're going to probably have a lot of Catholics in your audience here. I always say, hey, go to your Catholic bookstore, ask them to order it, ask them to stock it, and give the business, if you have the time, give the business, to your local bookstore, because those mom and pop stores are struggling against the Amazons of the world. But obviously you can get it at Barnes & Noble or Amazon or christianbook.com or any of those places. And Loyola, of course, you can definitely go to their website. Now, my website, AnthonyKolenc.com, has links to everything. I also have like a Harwood Mysteries specific website you can get to, and get to my podcast, The Shepherd's Pie, which as you know, right, we interview all sorts of wonderful people there too. So I appreciate that.
Oh, absolutely. Yes, thank you. So think about that to get the series and connect with Anthony. Thank you so much again for being a guest on Journeys in Faith. Come back again.
Thank you for having me. I will be glad to come back. And when book 5 comes out, I'm there.
Sounds good. Well, God bless you, and we'll see all of you here next week on Journeys in Faith with Anne DeSantis on Fiat Ministry Network.
Journeys of Faith is a production of Fiat Ministry Network and Patchwork Heart Ministry. For more information about Journeys of Faith, email info@fiatministrynetwork.tv. And be sure to friend, follow, and like us on social media. Just search Journeys in Faith with Anne DeSantis.